I really enjoyed Spider-Man No Way Home. However, I have wondered how long the novelty of the three live-action Spider-Man crossing over into one film will impact its longevity. Of course, I don't think it will be a contender for timeless films, since I think the most impactful pieces of art, while being reflective of the time and place they were made, as well as the people making and viewing them, are able to transcend generations. Being timeless, and universal so to speak, as much as any human endeavor can ideally be. Film, or movie making, is pretty young as a medium after all. Are things shot on digital still called films? You know, for all my knowledge as a movie buff, there are still quite a few technicals which still elude me. One thing I can say that I know pretty darn well are superhero comics, specifically ones based around the character of Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man, or at least I still feel the nostalgic emanations of my childhood self who loved the character. I mean, he's Spider-Man. He's relatable. If you're watching this video, you probably get that to some degree. So, welcome, Spidey fans! No Way Home was a great love letter to fans of different versions of the character on film up to that point, akin to the tough-to-pull-off crossover event that is sometimes all too common in comic books. If nothing else, it was mimicking the best character elements in such stories when they are nurtured, specifically relating to the personal journeys of the Spider-Man seen in these movies. But for all the quips and fan-cheering moments that I enjoyed upon watching it in the theater, something has struck me more than anything else years after its initial release. For all the gimmicky flaws this movie may have, it does something pretty bold in relation to Spider-Man's character, specifically his relationship with his villains. I haven't seen this brought up too much online, even well after the movie came out, so I guess I'm going to be the one finally making a video about it. You see, No Way Home kind of subverts and perhaps provides commentary on a trope common in superhero movie adaptations, which themselves are often antithetical to something so essential to Spider-Man, and most superheroes really, that I'm surprised that it hasn't been discussed more. Many of you are probably familiar with the fact that Spider-Man and most other superheroes generally are beacons of good. They don't kill people. They try to justify this by not taking the easy way out and proving themselves to not be as morally reprehensible as their villains. Of course, like many things in the medium of superhero comics, this flimsy character/plot point within stories, which often sparks debates among fans, is of course because if a hero killed their costume nemesis permanently, then writers couldn't use the villain again without having to come up with some major explanation every time. And of course, it would affect sales, naturally, although people don't really read comics as much as they used to. These comics are really kind of like old pulps or serials, going on sort of indefinitely, which means our characters are flexible for just about any kind of story by any writer/artist for many purposes, or con, never really being able to fully develop, or at least not definitively. Or is that a con? It's kind of indicative of the whole superhero comic thing anyway, but that's a topic for another video, I guess. In No Way Home, Tom Holland's Spider-Man, being the youngest and least cynical of the heroes, reflecting the audience maybe, wants to try and find a way to save the villains. This is interesting, as most villains in Spider-Man movies, and other superhero films, are typically killed off after a single appearance. I guess since movies are much more complicated and expensive, it feels like less incentive to guarantee a villain could return more, although with future technology, who knows. However, this typically involves the hero actually killing the villain, or ultimately not being able to resolve the conflict, without their deaths being a result. It's such a simple idea, especially since the villains of most of the movies tend to be mentally affected by their own science experiments gone awry, that it sort of solves the problem that maybe only fans thinking of the integrity of Peter Parker's character would really consider. In a weird way, it's a redemption. Whenever Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield's versions gave way to a moment of vengeance, their mentoring to the new generation or iteration helps correct mistakes. It's like being able to go back to your younger self and provide lessons on what steps not to take. Conversely, the older Spider-Men are saved by Holland's youthful and perhaps more pure Spider-Man morality. Like I said, despite all the corporate algorithmic conniving behind it, and silly comic book premises with Doctor Strange that still is kind of a bad plot point, but indicative of a lot of the crossover sort of things that could happen in comics, the film provides some great character beats and tackles one of the biggest underlying dilemmas in the Spider-Man movies. Its theme is very much a part of the film's plot, but I think the significance of it may have gotten lost in the hype of the cameos and various Easter eggs. Spider-Man usually doesn't give up on anyone. He's a true hero. In fact, you could say, we need a hero to save us, or something. How do the lyrics go again? I'm the hero.